So let's talk about REST. So up to this point, notice that we have not, we have been ad hoc talking about these URLs. Here is this API user URL. Before we were using this message URL. Before we were using, hello, hello name, followed by some query string. So there hasn't been any talk about any particular restrictions or syntax or schema structure of this for this URL. Yes? Well, it turns out that we want to establish some measure of standard on what these URLs should look like, right? So that we can all agree and we can easily make it so simplify how folks might want to be able to interact and be able to create these APIs so that to make it easy for everyone. Well, REST, which stands for Representational State Transfer, establishes several architectural conventions, right, that have evolved over time, and folks in the industry have identified as best practices. Okay, and if you go most anywhere in any one of whatever job you might want to go, you'll find that some form of RESTful services will be used for interacting with some backend service. Right. So here are some rules, some conventions that REST imposes or suggests or strongly suggests, is that if you are sending data to a server with the intention of creating a new instance, right, maybe store a new record in a database, then you should use POST. All right, and the data should be embedded as part of the body of the HTTP request. Yes? If instead you are sending a request to the server with the intention of reading data from the server or data from a database and whatnot, then you should use GET. Right? If you're sending data to a request to a server with the intention of changing or updating some record that already exists in the database or on the server, then you should use PUT. If your intention is to remove something, then you should use the HTTP delete. So these are all HTTP verbs or operations that transition the state of the application from one state to the next state. Okay, that's why the name state transfer. Right? You're sending all these requests that cause the application to go from one state and change it into some other state. Make sense? Right. Then there's a couple of other conventions. If you have these conventions are based on the data structure of the data model that that represents your application. Right? In our application, we have courses and modules and faculty and students. Right? That's our data model. Yes. And also these classes are also related to one another. Right? So maybe a course might have multiple modules. A module might have multiple lessons. One faculty can teach many courses. A faculty can teach many sections. There could be many students enrolled in many sections. So there's a whole bunch of relationships between all the different data models. There's a structure to our data. Yes, right. So the REST suggests that the structure of the URL that you use to interact with the data should follow, right, or should be based on the structure of your data. Right. So let's take a look at this example here. We have A, B, C, and D. Right. See, these are all classes, and we have several one-to-many relationships. So one instance of A has many instances of B. One instance of B has many instances of C, and so on and so forth. Right. So you can replace this with maybe A being course, right, and B being module. So one course has many modules. B modules has many lessons, and so on and so forth. Yes, several one-to-many relationships. So having said that, the RESTful APIs would follow the following pattern. Right? These URLs that would use, you would follow the following patterns. So to refer to, if you want to interact with A, for instance, right, then what you would do is that you would use a URL based on the class or the table that you want to interact. In this case, for instance, if you want to create a brand new instance of A, then you would say post and then /A. And then the data that you want to create would be part of the body. If you want to retrieve a list of all the A's, all the instances of A, you would say get/A, right? And that would return an array or collection of all the A's. If you don't want all the A's, but instead you want a specific A, right, from the set or the collection or the array of A's, then you can specify a primary key at the end of the URL. If you want to modify an existing record, right, a particular instance of A, you would use put/A and then the ID of the record that you're updating, and then the new data would be part of the body. And if you want to remove an existing instance, you would say delete/A and then 345, right, the particular instance that you want to remove. Another thing not captured here is that these A's, the names that we're going to be using is a plural noun, right, that refers to the specific table or class that you're interacting. So it would be /courses or /lessons or /widgets, yes, right, to refer to different URLs or different entities. If you want to manipulate the relationship between two classes, maybe a course and a module, or maybe a faculty and a section, right? One faculty teaches many sections. Then you can use the following URL pattern. For instance, if you want to create a new relationship between a faculty and a section, for instance, meaning this faculty is now going to be teaching that section, right? Or a new section. You want to create a new section for this course, for instance. Then you can use the following. You can say post, meaning create. I'm creating something new, and then /A, then the primary key. For instance, for a particular course, I want to add a new module, or for a particular faculty, I want to create a new section, or for whatever. And then the child object instance that you want to relate here. Or if you want to retrieve all the instances that pertain to any particular user, you would say get/A 234, and then all the B's that belong to that particular instance, A sub 234. So for instance, an example might be where you might say courses 234, give me all the modules. Okay, or here I might say courses 123, create a brand new module. Right, to create a brand new module. A couple of other ideas here is that if you say you could go a little further and say, well, what if I want to relate to a particular instance in B that belongs to a parent that has a particular ID 123. So there's two ways of doing it. One way is to navigate down to the parent, and then to the child. Or since you know that 234 is already a primary key for that particular instance, you can just say /B 234. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at an example.